You know the people in Wall-E?
Yeah.
That's what
we're getting to, no?
Right.
Like the obesity,
right.
Did your Game Boy go from like the top or the bottom? You know what I'm talking about?
Did you have to have the light, or did you have to play with the street lights?
Or no, did you have the fatty cartridge or did you have the slim cartridge?
Had both.
Did your Game Boy have color? That's what I'm saying. Like,
did you have the big one or did you have the SP? You feel me?
Right.
you can't play Pokemon Red version, under the sheets.
I have a Game Boy. Do you guys have a Game Boy still? Do you have a Game Boy?
I still have it.
I don't have it.
I have my Game Boy. I have my Color, my SP, and my DS.
My mom shipped all my stuff to Nigeria.
My mom sent my 64 and Super Nintendo to the Philippines.
Okay, I'm gonna say this real quick. So apparently, if you
serving these looks,
all right. So I'm gonna do this thing where we are gonna be. I love going on the Ask Reddit page and seeing what people like to ask for questions, and then just a whole lot of people answering it with some really weird answers. So we are going to be reading this today, and I wanted to get you guys' take on it. So I was going to be reading this one, but I feel like within the way that society is right now, we would definitely want to hear this question. So what's a Gen Z stereotype that you think is completely accurate? And I want to ask you guys first before I even start blowing out these questions. So, like, what is it that you guys think within, like, Gen Z is going down right now? And do you think that's something that's, like, accurate? Or are you a side of it? Are you not? Like, what's up with that?
A Gen Z stereotype?
Yeah. Or, like, something that you've noticed that, like, within this generation has been, like... Dude, because are we in the Gen Z? Are we in Gen Z right now? Or is it, like...
We're in, like, Gen Alpha now.
You talking about like currently, right?
Yeah,
not if like we are.
Yeah, like the zillennial period, like is what we call it. Like, okay, would you call yourself a millennial?
So if you look it up, technically by definition, I'm pretty sure we are.
Really?
There's like conversations about whether or not we actually are.
We're on the cusp.
Yeah, but we're on the tail end of it.
I'm like at the tail end of Y2K.
Like, look it up.
That's what I'm doing right now.
But while you're looking that up, I will say this. I do believe that everyone nowadays has a very short attention span due to
I can agree with that.
Due to the overconsumption of short-term or short-form content. Everything is so fast and flashy and quick with fast edits, and it just boom right in your face and boom, gone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
because of that, trends are also coming and going faster than what they used to. I think that it's a really big issue, especially when it comes to paying attention in, like, for example, talking to someone. I feel like a lot of people maybe can't hold conversations like they used to because they may feel awkward or anxious, and I feel like a lot of people don't really don't talk to strangers. And that sounds weird. It even sounds weird to say, people don't talk to strangers, but back in the day, people would talk to strangers.
Right.
Like if I'm walking down the street and I see someone, I say hello, how are you doing? And sometimes maybe even spark a conversation, but a lot
Nowadays,
of the time,
people are like,
dude, I was actually thinking about this on the way here.
Really?
You reminded me of a question I wanted to ask you. So when you see a stranger, right, and they just look at you, do you smile back, or do you initiate a smile?
I do.
I mean, like, genuinely,
wave or anything?
just how I am. I'm just like, I just smile.
I say hi.
Or like if it's like a fellow gentleman as myself, right? The little like signs that you give to Amanda. It's like if you know them, you're like the head nod, but if you don't know them, you're like, you get that
Go down.
Like, yeah, there's that. You know what I'm talking about though? Like when you go like, good day, sir. How are you? Yeah.
Milady.
Good day.
Yeah. I mean, so yeah, definitely I get the common like, human interaction, but then lately, it's just been like someone just like on their phone or distracted, you don't really, but whenever you do try to give somebody a look, I kind of get pissed off a little bit. Where it's just like, I'm trying to acknowledge you, bro. Be a human being, bro. You're not your phone.
If you really go outside and you just look around, you really notice that majority of people are on their phones. And
I think Tiger Woods said something about that, about his son. He doesn't like the fact that his son is always like this. Like, he's always like, I think it's Tiger Woods. I might be wrong, actually.
I don't remember Tiger Woods. I would know.
Is it Tiger Woods?
Carl was like, no, you're wrong.
let me look it up.
But let me go back to your question on like what are the generations and stuff like that. So there's like the greatest generation, which is from 1901 to 1924. There's the
False.
silent generation, which is 1925 to 1945. The baby boomers from 1946 to 1964. Generation X, which was from 1965 to the 1980s. The millennials are from 1981 to 1996.
There you
and
go. We caught that.
Wow.
Gen Z is from 1997 to 2012.
You're a Gen Zer.
Yeah, and then Generation
So-
Alpha is from 2013 to 2025.
He did it. He did say it.
It was Tiger
did.
Woods.
So he
Wasn't
says,
he?
"I just don't like the fact that he stares at his phone all the time. Put your phone away and just look around." That's one of the things that I think all parents struggle with. Is most kids don't look up anymore. Everyone's looking down.
Yeah. I
That's
and I
true.
and,
And
I
that's
think
how I
that-
feel about Lila. Like in the way she's going. Like I
Mhm.
don't want her to be like jacked in.
Like that tablet that you gave her, it's not like a tablet, it's like a
it's
drawing,
a drawing
tablet.
pad. Literally, you can
As you should.
It does two things. It draws and it deletes
Erases.
stuff.
As it should. And it's stuff from her own creation.
but I think that's one of the biggest concerns, and because of that,
Gen Zer,
yeah, it causes.
What are you, 96?
95.
I'm
You're 95?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we're both 95.
Holy shit. So you're a millennial.
But like the older millennials don't consider us as millennials.
Yeah, they.
That-
Well,
that's
yeah,
where the
because
problem-
if there was like a millennial that was born in the 1980s, like they went through a totally different millennial time than you
Yeah.
guys did, because that's whenever like technology
I-
wasn't really a big thing.
See,
in the
I
80s.
think I separate that the millennial like Gen Z area by did you grow up with the technology or were you born into it?
Mhm.
Right?
Yeah.
We grew up with every single step
Well,
of it.
see, the thing is, it's such like a tiptoey like topic though, because there's some people like, for example, Jasper would be like, if I told her that she was like if she was like a millennial or a Gen Z, I'd be like, babe, you're a Gen Z, but she doesn't necessarily categorize herself as a Gen Zer because of the way that they grew up. If they had siblings that grew up as a millennial, they took more millennial characteristics regardless of the year that they were born.
Right.
So it's like, it's such a tiptoey subject because people will be like, for example, Gen Zers. There's the early Gen Z who was born in 1997 and they were born like...
and they still pretty much technically grew up with the technology.
Yeah, they grew up
Yeah.
with the technology, but then compared to someone who was Gen Z and born to 2012, when technology was like...
Right,
boom.
which is the same thing that millennials do to us, right? We're on the tail end of what's supposedly supposed to be a millennial.
Yeah,
right?
95. Yeah, 96 was the last one.
Right, exactly. They don't consider us. Some don't consider us millennials.
Mm.
I do not consider myself someone from Gen Z. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, so we're also there's that weird
So
in between, like limbo.
what categorizes you guys as like, not what, if not including the year, what categorizes you as a millennial from your own understanding and your knowledge?
I think I just separated it with. Did you grow up with the technology, or were you born into
It comes down to the technology.
Yeah,
part of
because did the iPhone exist when you were born?
it. No,
Did you have an iPhone when you were 5 years old?
Right, exactly. Was it a plaything for
Yeah.
you?
no.
Right?
Yeah.
No.
I get it.
My play phones were brick phones or flip phone, you know?
My play phone was a colorless Game Boy.
I had a Game Boy.
The colorless Game Boy. is
Yeah, that's
crazy.
the other thing.
Yeah.
Did your Game Boy have a backlight?
Did your Game Boy?
Did your Game Boy go from like the top or the bottom? You know what I'm talking
Did you
about?
have to have
bro?
the light or did you have to play with the street lights?
Or
Yeah.
no, did you have the fatty cartridge or did you have the slim cartridge?
Had both.
Did
You know
your
what I'm
Game
talking
Boy
about?
have color? That's what I'm saying. Like,
Did you have the big one or did you have the SP? You feel me?
Right.
you can't play Pokemon Red version, under the sheets.
I have
You gotta-
I
you
have a
need the
Game
light.
Boy. Do you guys have a Game Boy still? Do you have a
I
Game
still
Boy?
have it.
I don't
You
have
still
one.
have yours?
I have my Game Boy. I have my Color, my SP, and my DS.
My mom shipped all my stuff to Nigeria.
My mom sent my 64 and Super Nintendo to the Philippines.
Okay, I'm gonna say this real quick. So apparently,
Thanks, Mom.
Since you are within the millennial range, it says like top characteristics for millennials are like, 1, they're influential in a workplace, they're confident with technology, they're cautious about their personal data, they're quietly optimistic about the environment, they're avid savers, they love to travel, they're nostalgic, they're competitive, and they're obsessed with podcasts.
I think that's all too broad.
Yeah, because it's like a horoscope. Like,
Yeah.
Today you will run into something great.
Yeah, it's kind of getting into it. Kind of gives you like, this is how you're supposed to act based
Right.
of like your sun
And
sign.
then
or
you're
whatever
just
the fuck.
looking for something great to happen.
Yeah.
I think it's nice for conversation, but I think that description is too broad. That's everyone. Or can
Genuinely.
be.
Dude, how does it say that we posted a video now when we're talking?
Well, you got a notification?
Yeah.
No.
Did you just post a video?
Nope.
Did you schedule it?
Nope.
Right.
Unless we just got hacked. Millennials are also hackers.
But no, it's just like, have you noticed things that you were seeing like growing up, or like, could you even imagine, like, did you think that our world, coming from the age that you were, was gonna get to where we're at right now?
I don't think anybody knew where we were gonna get.
Nah, dude. I thought Donkey Kong Country was peak.
Donkey Kong Country was peak, brother.
Hey y'all, we made it, y'all. We made it.
Yeah.
Donkey Kong Country, we made it.
It's crazy though, coming from like, just say if somebody was born like someone who was old was born from like the 1970s, and just seeing how where you grew up in and currently living in 2024 is like, it must be such a shock to you.
Right.
Because it's like, with all the crazy stuff, like, bro, we have like the Apple Vision Pro now, whatever.
Right.
And then there's like self-driving, like, I'm not saying they're self-driving, but like autopilot cars.
Bro, you know the people in Wall-E?
Yeah.
That's what
we're getting to, no?
Right.
Like the
It's-
obesity, the fucking
Right.
technology that you just, like, I saw this TikTok of like where society is coming to nowadays, to where it's like some dude had the Apple Vision Pro on while having their Tesla on autopilot. Like, we're not doing anything anymore
Right.
on our own. It's like technology is basically doing everything for us, and it's like, where do we stand now? Like, where's the responsibility? Where's the accountability that we hold for ourselves? Where's like the learning, like the basic learning
Or just
skills?
the interaction with your environment.
Yeah.
It's nowhere anymore, bro. We're gonna be a wasteland.
Right. But at least it looks good in here.
But it's looking good right here, bro. And it's crazy how we're getting, man.
I think people are losing the importance of just being aware.
Yeah.
Like, when was the last time you just went on a walk and you didn't listen to music? You didn't have anything on you. You didn't
The
have your
music
phone.
thing is
the
fine.
music thing is fine. I feel like
that one's all right.
But here,
like people had Walkmans listening to music walking
Yeah.
down the street back then, right?
People walked around playing their violin.
hear me out though. Hear me out though. When was the last time you went on a walk where you didn't have your phone? In fact, you didn't even have your phone. You had no music. You just walked. You just looked around. You observed. You walked, and you breathed.
If you're genuinely speaking, like, I don't remember a time
My
that
phone
we
stays in
doing
my
that.
pocket.
Exactly.
It stays
Yeah.
in the pocket.
It's
Of, like,
always in your
just
pocket.
not because like the phone just wasn't a concept to like have at the time. Well, given I am younger than you guys, so I wouldn't know. Like, if it wasn't the phone, it was my iPod Touch.
Right.
You know what I mean? So it's like there was something that I always had in my hand, but then people who lived generations back then, like if you were born in 96 and 97, like growing up to the 2000s, you didn't always have this in your pocket.
Mm-hmm.
So what do you remember doing, like, other than being like this? You know what I mean?
Like, if we're talking about as comparatively to right now, you know, I don't really see too many kids going outside and playing, for example.
But that's what I was gonna mention too. It's just like playing outside.
Yeah, go
Best feeling ever.
play with sticks.
My
Bro, I still pick up sticks.
You guys ever play Pogs, bro?
Pogs.
English.
Well, it was like this game where it was like, you know, those like circle disc. And man, I think must have just been a Guam thing then. We had this thing called Pogs, and it was like these little plastic discs that we used to just stack on top of each other, and we would collect it. And basically, how to win the game is like you would duel someone apparently, and you would get like your really good Pog. There was probably your heavy Pog, and you would slam it on that stack, and whatever fell would be yours now. Yeah, it was like, you know, little like stupid games. Like, it was someone.
So there was a Filipino thing. It was called like text cards, and they were like these little itty bitty like trading cards in a sense. And you would get a stack of them, right? And you like punch them out or whatever. You get like a full like sleeve of them, and you go walk around the plaza. I'm talking like I was born there, but I did go visit for like 3 months when I was younger.
Yeah.
And I feel like 3 months in a foreign country at the homeland is like a pretty long time. It was enough for me to come back home and speak like Tagalog.
Yeah.
Like I was speaking like straight, like I was born
Man
there.
was from the homelands.
Nice.
The motherland.
But you would take these cards. There would be like a tail side and a head side, and you would take someone else's card, and you would bet a stack, and you would match the stack to each other.
Okay.
Right? You're like, I'm gonna bet this much, and they would bet the same amount, and you would flip the card, and then whoever landed on heads would take the whole stack. So I feel like it's conceptually the same thing.
Sounds like gambling.
Not necessarily.
Kinda.
You think it's gambling, but then you're just a kid. You don't know what the hell gambling is. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? So it's like, it was just a little game.
Well, I mean, if I have marbles and Timmy has marbles and we flip a coin and I say heads and he says tails, and every time we flip a coin and if it lands on heads and I win, I take his marbles. That's gambling.
Not my marbles.
I guess it's
That's technically gambling.
it kind of is.
But we're kids. We don't know what the heck that is. You
The
know what I
world
mean?
is a lot faster pace. It seems like too, because
I feel that, bro.
people think we're old, right? When I was 15, for example, 15, 16, and I saw people that were like in their late 20s, 30s, I didn't really consider them old.
like in their 20s.
I considered them older, but I didn't consider them like old.
Old
people.
was like 50, 60.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah, I get that.
So you know how people like Gen Zs or like any like generation above or anyone older than us or younger than us, it's like you guys are old.
Or just like, because you know how I said I was just at a lock-in last night. And like, there's like, these middle schoolers and like freshmen and stuff like that. They would look at it, how old are you, Mr. Carl? It's like, oh, I'm 24. It's like, you're old. I'm like, 24 is old?
I have a theory for that.
Sweet.
The reason why they look at us as being old is because they're young, but they think that they're old. Or they want to be old. People who are 15, 16, 17, they want to grow up really fast. And so they see themselves as older than what they actually are, when in reality they're still just kids. If you ask me,
Like I'm still a child.
Yeah. Like,
Yeah.
You know?
If you ask me, I think you're still a kid until you're like 23, maybe even 24, because you don't know anything.
Genuinely?
You really don't.
I believe that. I feel like I'm still learning a lot as a 24-year-old. I mean, of course, there are those like 22, 23, 24-year-olds that do take the initiative to like truly like learn. But I wasn't really I didn't really learn a lot growing up. So it's like, I feel like this is just the age where I'm really like learning how to crack down how to be an adult. You know what I mean?
But
So
I never saw anyone 15, 20 years older than me as like
old.
ancient. You know?
Like ruins.
Right.
Like you hold artifacts in your house that cost millions.
I mean, I do, but
You belong in a museum, my boy.
Oh man.
No, so like when it comes to that though, like whenever you're looking at someone who's like 30, 40, 50, when you were a kid, and like, why do you think they would like, because I would be tripping out if somebody would call me old. Like, I'm 24. I'm
Like,
just
right
as
now,
much,
yeah.
like I'm just as much of a kid as you are.
like I feel like it's understandable if like a 5-year-old walks up to you and asks you how old you are.
Yeah.
And like, you're old compared to that 5-year-old.
I'm ancient.
Yeah, you're 5 times their age. That makes sense. But someone that's 14 telling you you're old, you're only 10 years older than them.
Yeah.
You know?
Hey, but a lot of stuff's gonna happen to you within them 10 years, boy. We'll tell you.
But forecasting to the rest of your life, you're not even at the halfway point yet.
Yeah.
You know? I think once you hit that halfway point, you're getting old.
It's when you feel your age, brother.
Yeah.
It gets wild. So being at the age that you guys are at right now, within like, so how old are you again?
28.
And you?
He's also 28.
You're also 28.
I'm not gonna lie. A couple days ago, I forgot how old I was. I wasn't
my
sure if I was
goodness.
28 or 27.
Hey, you're still in the calendar though.
You gotta make math.
You know
I'm
what I
not
mean?
good at math.
You're
gotta
still
make
in the
math.
calendar, so you guys are
Make
fine.
math.
Make math.
Make meth?
Make math.
But do you even feel 28 though? That's the thing.
No.
No.
Like, what do you feel like your age is right now? The feeling, not the age of what you're at by years, but like, what do you feel like?
The
you're
crazy thing about 20s is it kind of just feels like one like super age.
I feel you. It's like you're overall 20.
Yeah. Like overall, I'm just in my 20s.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
whether
yeah.
I'm on the tail end or the back end.
Yeah.
You know, there's not so much pivotal like physical like things. I could just be like, this is how I feel. Like, I feel this age. Whereas like if when I was 14 to 15 to 16 to 17 so on up until my 20s, I have those like very pivotal moments and like changes in my life that I can tell you, oh, I definitely felt 14.
So do you think within like this 20s range, because this is all by like personal preference or like opinion of like what you've gone through, is that you being in your 20s, do you guys think that this is the decade where you think you should be getting everything done?
I told you the first time I was on the pod, your 20s are for f***ing up and figuring it out. I think that, in my opinion at least, by the time you get to 30, you know, like that's the time you should be cultivating and reaping, you know, the benefits and everything that you did,
Yeah.
you know, everything you worked through from your 20s. If you can do that faster, like, good on you. You know,
Yeah.
like if you can figure yourself out before you get to 30.
But average.
I mean, I'm doing it right now, and I'm edging to 30.
You're
so,
already going you're already at the tail.
yeah.
end.
That's my pacing. It's taking me pretty much my entire 20s to figure it out.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, you know, that is.
This is what you were talking about too. You know what I mean? It's like you're like, you don't want to spend like your 20s trying to just figure it out rather than like because me being at 24, I feel like I have an advantage, especially having older friends. Like, I'm not saying you guys are old, but like
Old,
you guys,
no. There's the difference between calling somebody old and saying that they're older.
Yeah, I get it.
Because we are old. Like, truth of the matter is, we are older than you. We've been here longer than you.
I feel like I'm at a really good advantage right now because of the way that it's really based on like the people that you're surrounding yourself and the attitude that it's in. So it's where it's like you can do a lot if you're at your younger 20s to surround yourself with people who are at their like older 20s to kind of give you like a basis of what you feel like you should be doing and giving you that reassurance to where it's like you don't have to do everything at your age right now. So it's like being friends with you and then being friends with you and having like friends who are older or just like telling me to like slow it down a little bit. You know what I mean? Because I feel like, and I was talking to this with someone the other day to where it's like me thinking of all the things as like being a 24-year-old is not as common for a 24-year-old. Like, I feel like they think that I'm moving way too fast with it, and they're just like, yeah, you should think about what 20-year-olds are thinking about. It's just like, this is the time to fuck up, and this is the time for you to learn, like, genuinely.
Right.
So it's like all within age-wise and all within what you know is just like, I don't even know, bro. It's just like, I feel like we're just at such a weird time in age to where it's like your age doesn't even matter anymore at this point. It's just like what you're trying to experience through life and what you've gone through is basically going to say like, I guess I am older than you, or like what you've experienced. You know what I mean? I don't know if that's making sense.
I mean, at the end of the day, yeah, it's true. Age is just a number, but age is also a good way to measure how much experience that somebody has. You know, like for example,
Generally speaking.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's not always the case.
There's
not
exactly.
a full direct correlation between age and wisdom.
Yeah.
That's none, you know.
But if you're 70, you're expected to have all
true.
the wisdom in the world.
Right.
You know what I mean? But they can be just as stupid as you.
That's true. But that's why I feel like usually that is the case. You know. But then again, it is also kind of hard if that older person isn't really like weaves between reality and what's going on today. Like for example, if someone is 80 years old
and they're just 80 years old in their ways.
Yeah, but they're like 80 years old, but they're stuck in their ways. They're not into the whole technology. That means that someone who's 20 can still be way more knowledgeable than they are, even though they're 80
because
years
the
old.
world's going to progress. Right, and I think
regardless,
I think that's the biggest thing that we've gained as like, you know, like our generation is that we got to see the world progress, and the world's going to keep moving. So by the time we're 80. Technology is not going to stop moving forward. The world's not going to stop moving towards whatever goals they have, you know, at that certain point in time.
Yeah.
So you either get on board or you just watch the world pass by you
while you're back here
dying.
But I generally feel that though. Like I feel like we're moving at such a faster pace than we were before.
It's exponentially moving.
Yeah, I feel like back then, or especially whenever I was like a teen, time was like moving generally slower. But I feel like now at this age, I'm like, damn, I'm already 24.
Is that mentally with you, or are you talking about like the world's progression?
I think both. I think just because me personally, like experience wise and what's been going through life, it's just like, damn, I'm not even realizing that like I came here when I was like 19, 20, or like even I can't even remember back to whenever I was in 6th grade, like really starting to remember stuff.
Right.
And now I'm 24 and I'm like, what the hell is going on? But then also with like the amount of like movements that have been going on within like the world and like what's been happening in like the US and like how technology is advancing and people are like the way people's perspectives are different. Like, you know, I'm not going to really like put it out all the different perspectives that are in the world, but it's like there's so many, and then it's like you just can't. It's going so fast to where it's like sometimes you can't even keep up anymore.
Right.
Like it's just like it's moving way too fast, but you're still at this like, oh, but the world was like this, but it's not, because the world's like 100 steps ahead of you already, and you feel like you're late, and it's like, where am I at? Do I need to reflect on like where I'm at in life right now and see where the world's at, or but is it like, do you want to go towards where it's going? You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Something that I learned, and I didn't really understand this when I was a little younger, but the world isn't necessarily, like, people aren't necessarily ahead of you. It's not always, we look at everything like it's a race. You know, like, oh, I should be here at this time. I should be doing this at this time. There are a whole bunch of people who have very successful businesses that their business didn't launch until they were in their 40s, 50s, or 60s. You know, and I don't know the actual brands off rip, but these are big brands. I'm pretty sure like KFC is one of them. Like, you have a company that you've had since you were 20, 30 years old. I don't know, it didn't really do anything, and then it just pops off, and by the time you're like 50, then all of a sudden, like, you know, you're this great millionaire. We compare ourselves to everyone's success, and we look at their success and we're like, because this person is successful and they're 23, this person is like a millionaire and they're 23 years old. I'm 28 years old and I'm still doing this. I'm still stuck in my job. You know, I'm behind. That's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, I see that. But it's just, I feel like the world's just really big, and you just get really like, sometimes you can't get help but to get caught up in like what the heck's happening around you, and you're just like, where it kind of gives you like a reminder of like where you're at in life, and if it's like okay for you to be where you're at, or if it's like, should I be moving with the pace of the world? Because sometimes there could be cons and there could be pros of like moving with the world and like going cool, right? And then even though you know at the end of the day that this is, everyone has their own individual like pace, everyone has their own race that they're trying to finish off, but it's like, yeah, I'm really trying to make sense out of it, because I know what I'm trying to say, to where it's like, with the way that the world is progressing, are you trying to be with that, but then you know what's happening, and some of the things that's going through are like, in your perspective, bad, and are you trying to be comfortable with where you're at, or are you trying to be here where the world is at so you can like change it?
If I understand what you're saying, I feel like it's a little bit of both. You know, you have to understand where the trajectory of the world is, but then you also have to know what your own trajectory is, right?
Yeah.
Like, you can't be focused on the big picture without also focusing on like the smaller one, which is like you, right? The big picture is the world.
But that's what everyone says though, right? It's like, you got to look at the bigger picture, but then it's like, what about the ones where it's at the moment right now?
It's perspective though. You know, if you're just looking at the bigger picture and you're not comparing to anything else, it's the only picture. So right, like, you don't want to be too broad in like your mental space and not be to some sort of capacity like honed in on what you're doing. You know, because if you're just following the flow of the world, then you're not really like thinking for yourself. You're not really trying to see where you can be in accordance to that bigger picture. Because, you know, people say look at the bigger picture, but I see myself in the bigger picture. Where am I where's my starting point? Right? Like, I get that. Where am I going to be there in that bigger picture? If that makes sense.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I was thinking about this the other day. Is the world really that big?
Yes.
But no, really think about it. Like,
small world.
With a plane, I can be all the way across the other side of this marble in a couple hours.
But imagine walking it with no phone.
So does that mean that the world is only as big as
you make it?
Maybe, because I mean, with the technology that we have, the world is very small.
I think the accessibility.
The world is your oyster.
We have achieved such high feats that weren't. What?
Oh no, you weren't talking to the mic. I couldn't hear you.
Oh, you really?
Yeah.
I could hear myself.
Oh, well.
Interesting. Okay.
We'll find out when I edit this.
All right. The world has achieved such high feats in such a short amount of time compared to the entire like history of the world.
Yeah.
That it feels like the world has just gone like Mach 10 into the new
And you're just here.
Yeah. I don't know if that answered your question. But
Bro, we're having 3 a.m. conversations at 4 p.m., dude.
don't-
It's crazy, though.
I don't think that there really is an answer. I mean, the world is big. Yeah,
No,
the world is big.
It's all perspective.
Yeah.
And I think our generation's perspective
Yeah.
is definitely a lot more grounded, in my opinion.
Grounded like how?
Dang, I just opened another can of worms.
You really, yeah. See, look.
I don't want to say realistic, right? Because I feel like that's the wrong choice.
Yeah.
But just definitely being present, being around this, like this is grounding for me.
Mm.
Family, close friends, aspirations, like those types of things, like very like, forward facing like intentions, like being very intentful in like what's going on in our lives.
You think people are doing that a lot now?
I feel like my generation's doing that a lot.
Your generation.
Yeah,
Okay, you're
like-
not talking about this present generation. You're talking about the generation.
Right.
that you grew
I
up in.
don't really want to speak to like anyone outside of like my generation or like my circle of friends. Like I'm just explaining to you what I'm seeing like amongst me and like my peers.
Yeah.
Is that all of us that are around the same age, we're trying to like find almost like a purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that.
Right.
That's true.
What can I do to provide a legacy for the future? What
Legacy's
can I do?
a big word, bro. That is true.
That's a lot of the conversations I've been having, like with my close friends and stuff, and it's just we're just trying to figure out what we can do to be better.
Yeah, and that's where the conversation comes up to where it's like we were having before, is that like given trying to chase the world and trying to keep up with it, but then it's like you have like just say the reason why we're here, like Generation Alpha, whatever, right? And we're in this period right now. They're focused on other things, and they're trying to move in routes that don't even like interest you at all, because they see different things are more important than others.
Right. And I don't want to say that like they're necessarily thinking wrong, because I'm not them and vice versa. They're not me.
Yeah.
And I can't speak for an entire generation or against an entire generation.
Yeah.
They just might, at the same time, they just might know something
that you don't.
that we don't.
Yeah.
Right. And that's how we probably feel about. That's how I feel about the past generation.
Yeah.
I just know things that you don't.
Yeah.
And that's just how it goes. That's the way of the world.
I went through an experience that may be similar, but you didn't go through this exact thing. Yeah.
But the idea of saying you'll never know, you'll never be like us, we're better than you, like our generation, like the way we grew up, went through life is way different and way better and way more fulfilling than the way you're going through life right now.
So you believe that your generation is more kind of like eye-opening, or like you guys are more open-minded, do you think?
Maybe.
Or is it just a circle that you have?
I think at least for me, my generation, if I had to express the way I feel about my generation, right?
Yeah.
It's that we have come to an understanding that every generation is going to be different. It's what you take, your takeaways from everyone else's experience, everyone else's experiences and lifestyles and decisions and mindsets and perspectives.
Yeah.
To culminate like a better life for the future. Not just for myself, but for the others around me.
I feel that. And so are you gonna be promoting like to instill what your generation is to your daughter, or are you gonna like do you think it's gonna be very healthy for her to hold the type of like things that you're holding for your generation to keep it into the values, next generation?
The values I just said, like just being very open-minded and present. Those, I think just keeping those two in mind are probably what I want to instill her into the most is, enjoy this, but also enjoy the bigger picture.
Yeah.
Can you be too open-minded?
I think you can. And
I think that's another issue that we're having nowadays. I think that people are a little bit too open-minded.
But that's why I also say grounded at some point in the conversation, is that I still know where reality is.
It's like knowing within like being too open-minded. Like for example, it's like you want to, yes, you're hearing out what other people are saying, but you know where your true value stands, and you know what you've gone through, and you know that regardless, because for me, like what I said, it's like I know what I know listening to other people is great and all that, right? And I'm very open-minded, and like I like to listen to other people's problems and stuff like that. But if it doesn't match up to where my values are at, I guess that's where the grounding starts to where
Mhm.
it's like you know you're gonna continue to instill this, and not just to you, but your future children and then your future grandkids or whatever, and you keep that rather than having to feel like you have to agree to everything. And I feel like when you agree to everything, that's when you lose your own self identity. So I genuinely feel like that's being too open-minded
Mhm.
leads to you not knowing who you truly are and what you truly value in
Like,
life.
for example, the way Tiger Woods feels about his son.
Yeah.
I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
That's not really how I feel about that generation, like another generation, but it's definitely how I more or less want to apply that mindset to my kid.
Yeah.
Like I can't influence an entire generation. What I can do is control what happens in my house.
Correct.
That is
Right.
correct. Yeah, yeah.
And I don't want to say control. Control is the wrong word, but like advocate
Yeah.
for.
I don't think control is a bad word.
No.
I think so.
No.
No. But the thing that I was also mentioning too, it's like it's also like within every aspect of like it's like even if you can't reach like the hundreds and millions of people, as long as you reach out to one
Mhm.
and they continue to plant the seed, and it's gonna just continue to
Yeah,
like
man.
when you plant the seed, it grows.
There's like something that like breaking like gave me
yeah,
was like the whole each one teach one mantra.
yeah.
That's all you need to do.
Mm. Just
Like,
continue.
you
to
can
plant
get one
seeds.
person, like then they tell one person, and then it's just a ripple effect.
Mhm.
So
Next thing you know, that one person that went down the line is going to change the world, and you just never know.
right.
And even though you won't even know at the end of the day if this is the one guy that you were the one that led them to where they were going to be at. You just still felt the fulfillment at that moment to be able to teach.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I know the look, guys.
No.
I know the look.
No, we've been talking for an hour and 40 minutes.
This is what I genuinely love about this whole podcast thing, bro. Like,
We've almost been here for 2 hours.
I've been going in, and this isn't even including the other episode.
this could be a whole
Bro.
4-hour episode if you wanted it to be.
I forgot that this is the same episode to where I was dying.
Yeah.
This is the same episode.
Dude. Oh yeah, because
thought
we were
that was-
talking about Cold Stone interviews.
Right.
I thought that was the
See,
last
it's
episode.
crazy though, right? Like when you're in the podcasting thing, to where it's like we come from customer service to where are we at in the world?
you might need a part 1, part 2. This one,
Yeah, this is gonna be a bitch to edit.
just part
So,
1,
but
part
they
2.
do part 1, part
Yeah.
2s.
They do it.
Okay.
Do it all the time.
Oh, do you want to split this up into 2 episodes?
I mean, we could.
Can.
You know
You know
what?
what I mean?
Why not?
Why not? Just make it more digestible.
Yeah. Why don't we just do that?
Because then
Okay,
we're
so
giving
look,
someone a 2-hour
here.
podcast.
So
to
this is
Yeah.
this is
I
a
like
this
that.
is
I like
no,
that.
but look, this is the video right now, right? So everyone pause what they're doing. Thank you guys for watching that first episode. Like this is gonna be such a crazy episode. We have so much more going down. There will be a part 2 because we have some spicy takes during this episode. So make sure you tune in to the first one. Part 2 will be coming soon. Let's get back to the video.
Wait.
Just
Wait.
like that.
That's not
No,
how it
no,
works,
no,
because
no.
that would go at the very end of the first episode. So what he really meant to say was, thank you guys so much. Make sure that you guys subscribe, click that like button. That's Cheesy Machos. 80% of you guys are watching our stuff but are not subscribed, so please subscribe. And yeah, follow the Line Up podcast, share us, and again, we're gonna pick this up in part 2. And yeah,
Was that it?
I think so.
I don't think that was it.
It's all going in.
So you know what you could also do?
Okay.
You could also just do a voiceover. Like, here's part 1 to that podcast at the beginning. Like, me, Carl, and Nathan talk about a lot of stuff. Blah, 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 blah. This was a really good whatever. Here's part 1. And then
Yeah.
you could do that too.
Yeah,
You could
we-
just do a post edit thing.
You know what's crazy though? We didn't even end the episode. We just kind of jumped. Let's do this.
We're all over the place.
Let's
right
just. Okay, this is what I'll do. Obviously, you guys have watched us throughout this entire episode talking about all these different topics, and this has just been a wild ride of episode. We have been bringing up topics about generations, the way that we grew up, customer service, like everything that you could possibly think of within a podcast episode.
Cold Stone.
We have talked about it, and we just want to thank you guys so much for your support, your love. Be sure to click that like button. Be sure to subscribe. Turn the notifications on if you want. Like, 82% of y'all watch the videos but are not subscribed. So be sure to hit that subscribe button. We are going to be delivering more content to you. All of Nate's social links will be down in the links. Please make sure to follow him. Posts his great content. Other than that, we will see you guys in the next episode. And until then, we're going to hit a yurt on 3. 1, 2, 3. Yeah! Good night, everybody.
I really hope we did that right.
We did. So that was the. So look, right. So it cut off. That was the
Okay.
end of the episode.
Okay.
So everything that was just like conversating between us, like, oh, this is
Cut
we're gonna
that
end
out.
it. Cut it out.
Okay.
Right.
So and we just ended the
end
episode
end
there.
of part 1,
Okay.
right? You don't actually have to say it's the end of part 1. Just
Yeah.
fade it out and then say this is
And
part 1
this
at
is
the
a new
beginning.
video.
Okay.
And then say it's part 1 at the beginning.
It's funny because this is all still part of the second episode. You know I'm leaving all this in, right?
What?
We love you guys.
What do you mean you're leaving all this?
Boy, what the hell is a kumakama?